The world watched, horrified, as Ukraine burned. But was this merely geopolitics or something far older, a shadow stretching from ancient texts? Elias Vance, amidst his scrolls, pondered if this conflict was already written in the prophecies, its beginning and its end. Late into the night, Elias Vance felt the unsettling pull of a deeper narrative. The war's sudden intensity, its global tremors, defied simple historical explanation. There was an unseen hand at play, a hidden pattern beneath the headlines, suggesting forces beyond human comprehension were stirring. He meticulously traced ancient lines, searching for the divine blueprint. As dawn broke, Elias knew this wasn't just an academic pursuit. It was a spiritual imperative. The Bible, he was convinced, held the keys to understanding this chaos, revealing God's overarching plan. Stay with him until the end, because today you're about to discover what very few dare to reveal: Ukraine's true role in prophecy, from its ancient roots to its ultimate destiny. It all starts in the book of Genesis. After the flood, God gave humanity a fresh start, and within its pages we find the very first map of the world's nations. In chapter 10, Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, became the forefathers of new peoples. This ancient genealogy forms a forgotten map, linking ancestral lines to geographical regions that are, surprisingly, profoundly relevant to modern-day Ukraine. From these biblical accounts, we discover the patriarchs who would later give rise to the lands of the north, a phrase echoing through prophecy. Elias pointed to an ancient map, highlighting the territories above the Black Sea and the Caucasus Mountains. This region, the cradle of ancient tribes, was not merely a distant land. It was a strategic crossroads, a powerful northern heartland, whose significance was already etched in sacred texts, waiting to be rediscovered. Elias Vance stands before a display of ancient Scythian artifacts, golden animal figures glinting under the museum lights. He examines a reconstructed warrior's attire, lost in thought. But before we can fully grasp the shadows gathering over Ukraine today, we must journey back to the ancient past, to the very lands now embroiled in conflict. For centuries, this region was dominated by fierce nomadic tribes known as the Scythians. They were master horsemen, legendary warriors who carved out a vast empire across the Eurasian steppes, a territory that encompassed much of modern-day Ukraine. Their reputation for ferocity and their strategic control over vital trade routes made them a formidable power, a force that even the great empires of the ancient world eyed with both fear and respect. These were the original inhabitants, the wild heart of the northern lands. Elias is in a grand library, a weighty, leather-bound copy of Herodotus's histories open before him. He traces lines of ancient Greek text with a scholarly finger. And it wasn't just biblical accounts that spoke of these formidable northern peoples. Even the father of history, Herodotus, meticulously documented the Scythians in his histories. He described them as a people of extraordinary hardiness, dwelling in vast, untamed plains, what he called the wild lands north of the Black Sea. Herodotus's narratives paint a vivid picture of a fearsome, independent people, a force to be reckoned with, living in a territory that even then was recognized for its untamed nature and strategic depth. His words, written over 2 millennia ago, corroborate the historical presence and formidable character of these northern inhabitants, confirming that these lands were indeed a crucible for powerful nations. An animated map unfolds on screen, displaying intricate layers of ancient trade routes, military campaigns, and shifting empire boundaries across the Black Sea basin. Elias gestures to key choke points. The very geography of this region, encompassing the Black Sea and the vast steppes of Ukraine, has always been a magnet for conflict, a true geographical crossroads of empires. For millennia, it served as a critical corridor, a bridge between East and West, a gateway to both Europe and Asia. Control of these lands meant control over immense trade networks, access to vital resources, and the power to project influence across continents. Persians, Greeks, Romans, Goths, Huns, Mongols, all sought to dominate this strategic heartland. It's a land etched with the scars of countless invasions, a testament to its enduring strategic value. This isn't just a modern conflict. It's the latest chapter in a geopolitical saga stretching back to antiquity. Elias's study, a luminous family tree diagram projected on a screen, begins with Noah and branches out. He points to Japheth, then to a specific name. But the Bible offers an even older, more profound map, a genealogical chart of nations that traces their origins to the very dawn of humanity after the Great Flood. In Genesis chapter 10, we find the account of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the forefathers of all nations. And among the sons of Japheth, we discover a name that resonates with chilling familiarity and end-times prophecy. Magog. Yes, Magog. Not just an individual, but a progenitor of a people, a land that would arise from these very northern territories, destined to play a pivotal role in the final days. The seeds of today's headlines, planted in Genesis, generations before empires even rose. An illuminated manuscript is displayed, showcasing ancient family trees. Elias's hand hovers over specific names, connecting them with a sense of historical reverence. Yet Magog was not alone among Japheth's descendants who would shape the prophetic landscape. Genesis chapter 10 also lists other crucial names, often linked directly to Ezekiel's end-time vision: Gomer, Meshech, and Tubal. Gomer, historically associated with the Cimmerians, fierce tribes who once roamed the lands north of the Black Sea and into Anatolia. Meshech and Tubal, names consistently linked to ancient peoples residing in what is now modern-day Turkey, near the Black Sea. Their historical settlement patterns firmly place them within these northern regions, reinforcing their deep, ancient connection to the very territories now at the center of global attention. These are not obscure footnotes, but vital characters in a divine drama. Elias is back in his study, standing before a large, detailed map of the ancient world. He uses a sleek pointer to highlight specific regions, which then morph into modern country borders. Now, let's connect these ancient dots to the modern world, a revelation that will truly take your breath away. For centuries, biblical scholars have identified Rosh from Ezekiel's prophecy with ancient Rus, the precursor to modern Russia, and Meshech, often linked to Moscow, the very heart of Russia. Tubal is commonly associated with Tobolsk, another significant Russian city, or with ancient Anatolian tribes connecting it to modern Turkey. These aren't mere coincidences. The strategic importance of these regions, from the Black Sea to the Caucasus, has endured for millennia, a consistent thread in the tapestry of history and prophecy. The names may be ancient, but their echoes reverberate in today's headlines with terrifying clarity. The room transforms into a stark, almost empty space. A single, dramatic spotlight illuminates Elias. Behind him, a silhouette of a powerful, indistinct leader is cast against a map of Russia, emphasizing the gravity of his words. But Ezekiel's prophecy doesn't just name nations. It identifies a singular, powerful figure at the head of this northern coalition. He is called Gog. Gog is not a nation, but a leader, a prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. This implies a single, influential personality, a charismatic and formidable individual who will unite these diverse northern powers. Who is this Gog? Is it a title passed down through generations of leadership, or a specific individual yet to fully emerge on the global stage? The implications of such a figure, commanding an alliance of these powerful nations, are chilling. It brings the prophecy from abstract geography to the realm of human will and dark ambition. Elias is back in his study, multiple open Bibles, commentaries, and historical atlases spread around him. He gestures with a sweeping motion, connecting the various texts. So we've traced the lineage, identified the ancient territories, and even hinted at the modern connections. We've seen how Genesis, the very first book of the Bible, quietly plants the seeds for these northern nations, Magog, Gomer, Meshech, and Tubal. Then, centuries later, the prophet Ezekiel picks up these threads, weaving a detailed, chilling prophecy about their role in the end times. From the earliest pages of sacred history to the very brink of the future, these lands and their peoples are intricately woven into God's greater plan. We've laid the historical and genealogical groundwork. Now, are you ready to face the full, unvarnished truth of Ezekiel's dire vision? The prophecy of Gog and Magog is about to unfold. The desert stretches, vast and unyielding, a canvas for divine revelation. Here, in the harsh lands of Babylonian exile, a prophet named Ezekiel received a vision so dire, so chilling, it would echo through millennia, culminating in events that might now be unfolding before our very eyes. Elias Vance stands amidst a CGI depiction of this ancient setting, the wind whipping at his coat, his gaze fixed on the solitary figure of Ezekiel, burdened by a future he could scarcely comprehend. This was no ordinary prophecy. It was a foretelling of an invasion unlike any other, a global conflict set against the backdrop of God's chosen people, Israel, in the very last days. The weight of this revelation, delivered to a man torn from his homeland, introduces a turning point in sacred history, a shadow cast forward through time. Elias's study is now bathed in a focused light, illuminating a large, ancient scroll unfurling on his desk. His finger traces the faded Hebrew script, his voice resonating with a quiet authority. The Lord's command to Ezekiel is unmistakable. He begins. It is a direct confrontation with a formidable, mysterious figure. He says, "Son of man, set your face against Gog, of the land of Magog, the prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal, and prophesy against him." Elias pauses, allowing the words to sink in. Here, the prophecy clearly names its central antagonist, Gog, the enigmatic leader, and his origin? Magog, that ancient northern land we explored, the ancestral home of a people destined for this end-time role. This isn't a vague threat. It's a precise identification of the principal players, confirming the historical links we've already uncovered, binding the ancient north to a terrifying future. Suddenly, an animated map springs to life behind Elias, a swirling storm cloud gathering over the Middle East. From various directions, symbols of nations converge, their trajectories aimed squarely at Israel. But Gog will not come alone, Elias states, his tone grave. Ezekiel chapter 38, verses 5 to 6, reveals the full extent of this formidable coalition, a terrifying international alliance. Persia, Cush, and Put will be with them. Gomer, with all its troops, and Beth Togarmah from the far north with all its troops, many peoples with you. Elias points to each converging symbol on the map. We see Persia, modern-day Iran, whose ancient roots we've already explored. Then Cush and Put, representing nations from North Africa, likely Sudan and Libya. And from the far north, Gomer and Togarmah, often identified with regions in modern Turkey and the Caucasus. This is not a regional skirmish. This is a global threat, a multinational force, drawn from the cardinal points of the compass, all united against a single, vulnerable target. The scale is unprecedented, the threat undeniable. Elias gestures to a map of the region, where a large, symbolic fishhook now appears, gently but firmly pulling at the northern territories. Perhaps the most astonishing detail of this prophecy is not who * will gather, but who * will instigate it, Elias explains, his voice imbued with a sense of awe. Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 4 declares, "I will put hooks in your jaws and bring you out, and all your army, your horses, and your horsemen." This isn't merely human ambition at play, it's divine sovereignty. God himself states he will put a hook in Gog's jaws, drawing this vast, hostile coalition towards Israel. It's a paradoxical truth, a dark invasion orchestrated by the very hand of God, not as an endorsement, but as a deliberate act, a calculated move in his ultimate plan for judgment and revelation. The scene shifts to a simulated geopolitical briefing room, intelligence reports flickering across screens. Elias stands, gesturing to projected data. Why would such a formidable coalition with so many diverse interests unite against a relatively small nation like Israel? He asks, his gaze piercing. Ezekiel leaves no room for speculation on their motives. In chapters 38, 10-12, God reveals Gog's dark intentions. You will say, I will go up against a land of unwalled villages. I will fall upon the peaceful and unsuspecting people, to see spoil and carry off plunder. This is not about ideology or revenge alone. It's about avarice, a hunger for wealth and resources. Gog envisions an easy conquest, a vulnerable people ripe for the taking. The prophecy exposes the dark heart of this invasion, pure, unadulterated greed, cloaked in strategic ambition. Elias now points to a series of vibrant images. Offshore natural gas platforms gleaming under the Mediterranean sun, sleek skyscrapers marking Tel Aviv's tech hub, and bustling innovation centers. But what spoil could modern Israel possibly offer a global superpower and its allies, he queries. For centuries, Israel was seen as a desolate, resource-poor land. Yet, in recent decades, a miraculous transformation has occurred. Israel has not only become a global leader in technology and innovation, a startup nation, but has also discovered vast offshore natural gas reserves. These multi-billion-dollar fields, like Leviathan and Tamar, represent immense wealth. Suddenly, the ancient prophecy of spoil and plunder takes on chilling, tangible relevance. The unwalled villages of a confident, prosperous Israel, seemingly peaceful and unsuspecting, become an irresistible target for a greedy coalition. The uncanny accuracy of Ezekiel's words, foretelling Israel's modern wealth, is breathtaking. A stark calendar graphic appears, its pages turning rapidly until it settles on a highlighted phrase, the latter days. Elias's expression is grave, his voice tinged with urgency. This isn't a prophecy about some past historical conflict, lost in the annals of time, he emphasizes. Ezekiel is unequivocally clear about the timing. In chapter 38, verse 8, God explicitly states, in the latter years you will come into the land, and again, in verse 16, in the latter days I will bring you against my land. The Bible uses these terms, latter days, end times, to denote a very specific period, a final chapter in human history. This prophecy, this global invasion, is explicitly an end times event. It means we are not merely observing geopolitics. We are potentially witnessing the very prelude to the final acts of God's prophetic drama. The clock is ticking, and the signs are undeniable. In a quiet, reverent setting, Elias holds a fragile Torah scroll, its ancient script, a testament to enduring covenant. At the heart of this prophetic storm lies a singular target. Elias states, his voice low and profound. The invasion is not just against a territory, but against a people, God's people. Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 16 reiterates, You will come up against my people Israel, like a cloud covering the land. This is critical. This is an Israel recently regathered from the nations, a sovereign state restored in its ancient homeland. This makes the conflict profoundly spiritual, a direct challenge to God's covenant, a brazen defiance of his promises. It's a war not just over land or resources, but over the very identity and destiny of God's chosen nation. The stakes, therefore, are divine. An animated topographical map of Israel fills the screen, highlighting its rugged mountainous regions. The Golan Heights, the Judean hills, the central spine of the land. Elias points to these peaks. Where will this titanic struggle unfold? Ezekiel specifies the battleground with startling precision. Elias reveals. Chapter 39, verse 4 states, You will fall on the mountains of Israel, you and all your troops, and the nations with you. This is not a battle in the plains or deserts. It's a confrontation in the very heartland of Israel, its defensive highlands. Imagine an immense, modern army, armed with tanks and artillery, attempting to conquer such formidable terrain. The strategic implications are immense, and the prophetic stage is set for a dramatic, conclusive confrontation, not in some distant, unknown land, but on the very mountains we see today. A breathtaking global view emerges, satellite imagery of Earth at night. its cities glittering like scattered diamonds. Elias stands before it, a sense of wonder in his eyes. But what is the ultimate purpose of such a devastating global conflict? Why would God permit such an invasion? Elias asks, his voice rising with conviction. Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 23 provides the awe-inspiring answer. Thus I will show my greatness and my holiness, and I will make myself known in the sight of many nations. Then they will know that I am the Lord. This is the profound, mind-blowing reason behind it all. This invasion, and God's catastrophic response, is a public, undeniable display of His power and glory. It's a cosmic billboard, declaring His sovereignty to every nation on earth. When the dust settles, when the smoke clears, the entire world will know, without a shadow of a doubt, that the God of Israel reigns supreme. This is not just a war, it is a revelation. The prophetic blueprint of Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39 doesn't merely speak of a vague northern threat. It names specific nations, a coalition destined to rise in the end times. Elias Vance, standing before a split screen showcasing ancient Persian reliefs and stark modern images of Iran, began to translate. We've already touched upon one of these pivotal players, Persia. As we explored, Persia was God's chosen empire in the past, an instrument of liberation. But the biblical narrative is complex, often paradoxical. The very same ancient land, modern-day Iran, is explicitly named in Ezekiel as a key member of this end-time alliance against Israel. Elias highlighted Iran's current geopolitical stance, its nuclear ambitions, its proxy wars, its open enmity towards Israel. This is not coincidence. This is prophetic precision, centuries in the making. The undeniable link between ancient Persia and modern Iran in prophecy is unfolding before our eyes. Elias then gestured to an animated map, highlighting regions in North Africa. But Persia is not alone. Ezekiel's prophecy expands the coalition, naming Cush and Put. Biblically and historically, Cush is widely understood as modern-day Sudan, a strategically vital nation bordering the Red Sea. And Put, that refers to ancient Libya, a region known for its nomadic tribes and its historical ties to North Africa. Both nations, in their modern forms, are marked by geopolitical instability and, in many cases, a deep-seated anti-Western and anti-Israel sentiment. Their strategic locations, offering access to the Mediterranean and the Middle East, make them plausible, indeed essential, allies in such a formidable alliance. The map showed arrows connecting Sudan and Libya to the broader Northern Alliance. These are the lesser-known yet equally critical players from Africa in the end times war. Next, Elias focused on the Anatolian region, a map of modern Turkey appearing behind him. Then we turned to Gomer and Togarmah. Ancient texts and historical geography consistently link these names to regions within what we now call Turkey and the broader Caucasus. Gomer, often associated with the Sumerians, and Togarmah, with ancient Anatolian tribes, point directly to this powerful Eurasian crossroads. Elias explained, "Today, Turkey stands as a resurgent regional power, with growing ambitions, a complex and often strained relationship with Israel, and increasing ties to Russia and Iran. It is a major geopolitical force, perfectly positioned to fulfill the role of a powerful, potential member of this northern coalition. The unexpected yet foretold role of Turkey in this prophetic alliance is a detail that cannot be ignored." Elias's expression grew solemn as a vast map of Russia appeared, its southern and western borders highlighted. But at the heart of this northern alliance leading the charge are the nations we identified from Genesis: Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. Scholarly consensus is overwhelming. Rosh is Russia. Meshech is inextricably linked to Moscow, and Tubal to Tobolsk, or ancient Anatolian tribes now firmly within Russia's sphere of influence. This is the primary northern power, the Prince of the North. Elias emphasized Russia's historical and ongoing strategic interest in the Black Sea, Ukraine, and the Middle East. Its modern actions, its expansionist aims, its desire for regional dominance. They align perfectly with the ancient prophecy of the Prince of the North. This is the chilling identification of Russia as the lead nation in the end times prophecy. And this brings us back to the enigma of Gog, Elias stated, a silhouette of a powerful leader cast against the map of Russia. Ezekiel explicitly names Gog as the Prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. Gog is not a nation, but a singular, powerful leader, an individual figure who will unite this formidable and diverse coalition. Is Gog a specific name or a title, like Pharaoh or Caesar? The Bible doesn't specify, but it describes a charismatic, authoritarian figure driven by ambition and a desire for plunder, capable of commanding the allegiance of nations spanning from North Africa to Central Asia. Elias pondered, what kind of leader could forge such an alliance? The ultimate question remains, who is Gog, the leader of the end times war? The animated map now showed all identified nations, Russia, Iran, Sudan, Libya, and Turkey, converging, their borders blurring into a formidable dark alliance. So we have them. The full prophetic alliance, Russia, Iran, Sudan, Libya, and Turkey. Diverse in origin, yet united by a common thread, an opposition to Israel and a desire for strategic gain, for spoil and plunder. Elias summarized the coalition. This is not a regional skirmish. This is a formidable, multinational force, meticulously detailed in ancient scripture, now taking shape on the global stage. This is the terrifying visual confirmation of the end-times super-alliance, preparing for its ultimate move. Elias then directed attention back to Eastern Europe, a map highlighting Ukraine. But where does Ukraine fit into this prophecy? Ukraine, historically part of those very northern lands, represents a critical stepping stone for Russia's ambitions. Control over Ukraine strengthens Russia's position as the Prince of the North, providing strategic depth, agricultural resources, and vital access to the Black Sea. He continued, this is not merely a border dispute. It is a consolidation of power, a strategic maneuver that directly enables and empowers the primary actor in the Gog and Magog alliance. The shocking realization is that Ukraine is a linchpin, a crucial piece in the unfolding end times prophecy. Elias sat at his desk, his gaze direct and grave. To view the conflict in Ukraine solely through a geopolitical lens, as a simple territorial dispute, is to miss its profound prophetic implications. The intense, unexpected global impact of this war, the shifting alliances, the rising tensions, it signifies something far deeper. It aligns with Ezekiel's vision of a consolidation of power in the northern regions, a preparation for an even greater conflict. He challenged, this is more than a border war. This is a profound shift from geopolitical analysis to prophetic revelation, urging us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about current events. An intricate animated map now displayed military movements, diplomatic connections, and geopolitical alliances shifting across Eastern Europe and the Middle East, a complex web of interconnected events. Elias explained, Russia's actions in Ukraine are not isolated. They directly affect its relationships with Turkey and Iran, influencing its overall posture towards the Middle East. Each move on this global chessboard, each alliance forged, each strategic gain, they are interconnected. They are pieces being moved into place, preparing the stage for the fulfillment of Ezekiel's prophecy. These are the hidden strategic connections between Ukraine and the ultimate prophetic war, a design only God could orchestrate. Elias stood before a grand, ancient archway, a symbolic gateway between the ages. He looked back at the maps and texts, then turned to face the unseen future. We have traced the ancestry from Genesis, identified the nations in Ezekiel's dire vision, and connected them to the geopolitical realities of our present day, recognizing Ukraine's catalytic role. We have seen the who and the why, but the story does not end with human machinations or geopolitical maneuvering. He paused, his voice deepening with gravity. Now we reach the definitive pivot. The narrative shifts dramatically from the setup to the climax. From the who and the why, we now turn to the what, to God's direct, terrifying intervention, and the cataclysmic consequences of the war of Gog and Magog. This is the moment the narrative dramatically shifts from who to what will happen. The grand coalition, gathered from the ends of the earth, now stands poised on the mountains of Israel. Their vast armies, an unthinkable force, cast a shadow over the Holy Land. But as they prepare to strike, a power far greater than any earthly alliance begins to stir. Elias Vance, his voice solemn, reveals the turning point. At that time, when Gog comes against the land of Israel, declares the sovereign Lord, my wrath will be aroused. In my zeal and fiery wrath I declare that at that time there shall be a great earthquake in the land of Israel. This is no mere human conflict. This is God himself rising to defend his people, to make his sovereignty known. What unfolds next is not a battle of men, but a direct, overwhelming act of divine intervention, a terrifying display of his justice. As Gog's armies spread across the landscape, preparing their final assault, the very ground beneath them begins to rebel. Elias describes the terrifying scene. The earth will tremble, the mountains will be overthrown, and every wall will fall to the ground. Imagine the chaos. A massive earthquake, unlike any ever witnessed, tearing through the land, swallowing divisions, toppling fortifications. But God's intervention doesn't stop there. He also introduces utter confusion into the ranks of the invaders. I will call for a sword against Gog on all my mountains, declares the sovereign Lord. Every man's sword will be against his brother. The mighty coalition, once united in purpose, turns on itself, consumed by an inexplicable madness, their weapons raised against their own allies. It is a stunning, horrifying spectacle of divine judgment. Yet the earthquake and internal strife are merely the beginning of God's unleashed fury. Elias continues, I will execute judgment on him with plague and bloodshed. I will pour down torrents of rain, hailstones and burning sulfur on him, and on his troops, and on the many nations with him. Picture the skies above Israel darkening, not with storm clouds, but with a rain of fire. Hailstones, massive and destructive, mixed with burning sulfur, descend upon the vast army. This is the same judgment that fell upon Sodom and Gomorrah, but now on an unimaginable, global scale. An overwhelming supernatural assault, leaving no doubt about the source of this catastrophic devastation. It is the very hand of God striking down his enemies. The mountains of Israel, once a stage for the invading hordes, become their tomb. Elias, his voice somber, recounts the inevitable outcome. On the mountains of Israel you will fall, you and all your troops and the nations with you. The sheer scale of the defeat is beyond comprehension. Gog, the formidable prince, and his entire coalition are utterly annihilated. There is no escape, no retreat. The prophecy of their downfall is fulfilled with terrifying precision, leaving behind a stark, undeniable testament to the consequences of defying the living God. The immediate threat is resolved, but at an immense and devastating cost. The aftermath of this divine judgment is as grim as it is prophetic. Elias paints a vivid, almost macabre picture. And you, son of man, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Call out to every kind of bird and all the wild animals. Assemble and come, gather from all around to the sacrifice I am preparing for you, a great feast on the mountains of Israel. The bodies of the fallen will be so numerous that they become a feast for the scavengers of the land. This imagery is not just graphic. It's a stark symbol of utter dishonor and complete consumption, a final, chilling fulfillment of God's word. The once proud armies are reduced to carrion, a stark reminder of their defiance. But amidst this devastation, there is a profound, ultimate purpose. Elias, now looking up with reverence, declares, I will make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel, and I will not let my holy name be profaned any more. Then the nations will know that I am the Lord, the Holy One in Israel. This horrific judgment is not an act of random destruction, but a redemptive revelation. It is God's way of demonstrating His holiness, His power, and his unwavering faithfulness to his covenant people, Israel. From the ashes of war, his glory will shine forth, undeniable and magnificent. When the dust settles, the world will be irrevocably changed. Elias summarizes the global impact. Thus I will show my greatness and my holiness, and I will make myself known in the sight of many nations. Then they will know that I am the Lord. This event, witnessed by all, will leave no doubt about God's existence, his power, and his ultimate authority over all nations. It is a powerful testament, a universal awakening, fulfilling the prophecy that they will know that I am the Lord. The war of Gog and Magog, terrifying as it is, serves a higher purpose, to bring the world to a profound, undeniable understanding of the one true God. The earth, still scarred from the cataclysm, begins its slow, miraculous healing. Elias Vance stands amidst a tranquil Israeli landscape, sunlight warming his face as he observes figures in the distance. They are not soldiers, but families, quietly gathering and stacking what remains of the invaders' arsenal. After the dust settles, after the fire from heaven consumes the armies of Gog, Elias narrates, his voice softened by a profound sense of hope. Ezekiel reveals a remarkable aftermath. Imagine a nation not rebuilding its military, but gathering fuel. Then those who dwell in the cities of Israel will go out and set on fire and burn the weapons, both the shields and bucklers, the bows and arrows, the javelins and spears, and they will make fires with them for 7 years. Ezekiel chapter 39, verse 9. 7 years of peace, fueled by the very instruments of war. It's a period of profound cleansing, a testament to a new era, proving that even in the heart of judgment, God paves the way for restoration and an unexpected, enduring peace. But here, in the quiet of his study, Elias turns to a passage that offers a profound, almost unbelievable twist. A gentle light illuminates his open Bible, revealing words from the prophet Jeremiah. We've seen Persia, modern-day Iran, as a key player in the Gog and Magog coalition, facing judgment. Elias begins, his voice filled with a sense of wonder. Yet, centuries earlier, Jeremiah declared a prophecy almost forgotten, a promise of unexpected grace. Yet nevertheless, in the latter days I will restore the captives of Elam, declares the Lord. Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 39. Elam, the ancient name for a significant part of Iran. This changes everything. Even after judgment, even for nations that have defied him, God leaves the door open. It's a secondary pivot, a glimmer of hope that echoes through the ages, revealing a God whose plans extend beyond immediate judgment to ultimate restoration. Elias stands on a mountain ridge, watching the sunrise paint the vast landscape in hues of gold and crimson. The world stretches before him, a testament to both God's power and his enduring patience. This isn't just about one nation, Elias reflects, his gaze sweeping across the horizon. This is a profound truth woven into the very fabric of God's character. The paradox is breathtaking. Judgment for defiance, yes, but always, always an open door for repentance. God's ultimate plan isn't simply about punishment. It's about drawing all nations, all peoples, to himself. Even those who once stood against him, those consumed by pride or led astray by deceptive powers. He is a God of justice, but his mercy triumphs. His heart longs for reconciliation, for a world where every knee bows, not just in fear, but in recognition of his boundless love. This is the overarching narrative of Scripture, a God who redeems, who restores, who offers hope, even in the ashes of judgment. It's a truth far more intricate and powerful than many realize. The ultimate vision, the culmination of all prophecy, is not one of endless war, but of universal worship. A breathtaking CGI depiction shows joyous crowds, diverse in attire and tongue, ascending towards a glowing Jerusalem. Elias's voice rises, filled with profound hope. The prophet Zechariah paints a glorious picture of this redeemed future. Then everyone who survives of all the nations that have come against Jerusalem shall go up year after year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. Zechariah chapter 14, verse 16. Imagine, not just Israel, but representatives from all nations journeying to Jerusalem to worship the King of Kings. Perhaps among those faces will be descendants of Elam, once part of the coalition that defied God, now bowing in humble adoration. Perhaps even those who once stood with Gog will find their way to the light. This is the awe-inspiring vision of God's ultimate plan, a world united, not by conquest, but by worship. A future where His glory fills the earth and every nation acknowledges Him as Lord. Elias stands in his study, a world map behind him, his gaze direct and earnest. The initial questions about Ukraine, about the unsettling present, now ripple through a tapestry of millennia. We began by asking, is the war in Ukraine merely geopolitics, or something more? And as we've journeyed from Genesis to Ezekiel, identifying ancient peoples and modern nations, tracing the blueprint of prophecy, the answer becomes clearer. The devastation in Ukraine, while heartbreaking, serves as a profound signal. It's a call to watch. A stark reminder that what once seemed ancient is now unfolding before our very eyes. The consolidation of power in the north, the shifting alliances, the rising tensions, these are not isolated events. They are echoes, precursors, to the latter days, prophecy of Gog and Magog. So now, after everything you've heard, I ask you, do you believe Ukraine's shadow in ancient texts is illuminating our present? Are you seeing the signs of these prophecies in today's headlines? Where do you stand in this unfolding story? Leave your thoughts in the comment box below. If you'd like us to keep exploring how current events connect with biblical prophecy, give this video a thumbs up and share it. This lets us know we should continue uncovering more prophecies unfolding right before our eyes. And if you're ready to dive even deeper, click right now on the video you see on your screen. Daniel's 7 Keys for Identifying the Antichrist. In these times, understanding is more essential than ever. Blessings.